Petey's putting too much on me at one time.
Oh, he
Slow
does
it
that.
down.
That's what he does.
Seriously, y'all. I mean,
It's wonderful.
It's really overwhelming in a sense, but yet at the same time, as you were saying I'm like, this is coming to me.
No, what I hear you saying is that you have a sense of the truth, but you can't articulate it.
At this point, right now, I can't. But
you know it.
I know it. Yeah, I know it's good.
There's something like this resonance within you that says there's something there, but I
just can't put my finger all the way on it.
Okay, let me help you.
Put your hand on it.
I'm gonna make it so that
make it simple.
I'm gonna make it so simple that you can see this. Okay, now here it is.
Even I could see it.
Okay, aleph is an ox, but like an ox, it has to do with the strong, powerful one. But the aleph is the one letter in the Hebrew alphabet which is silent, and it speaks of the letters that start with A: artist, author, architect, entrepreneur. That starts with an E, but it's the A concept because A is pronounced as an E in Hebrew anyway. It's the A things, the top of the list, the omnipotent, eternal creator of all things.
Sure.
The maker of heaven and earth, who himself hasn't spoken so audibly that we can hear him, other than on Mount Sinai and when he spoke it when Yeshua was being baptized and all. But basically, he has manifested himself in the letter Bet, which is to say the materialization of the cosmos, the universe. So Bet means house, but it means to embody or to put in material form. So Aleph Bet happens to spell the word father, Ab. But not only is it father, it's as it were the center pole of an umbrella. That which holds up the house is known as the Ab, the center structure that makes everything happen. So you could say Aleph Bet literally means the omnipotent creator, the one who designed the plan, who had the idea to do all this, and then made it so. He is the omnipotent, eternal creator who made the heaven and earth exist. That's Aleph and Bet. Gimel is to, now if Bet is just an object, Gimel is to set it in motion. Gimel means camel, but it means to go in motion, back and forth, to get it going. But he also then, Aleph can mean I am or I will, and Bet means to incorporate myself into material being, and Gimel is the sent one to go from heaven to earth. Dalet represents the earth. It's the number 4. It's a door, but it also is 4, meaning like the 4 seasons and the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. Fourness speaks of earthiness. Okay, so here you have A, B, C, D, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. I will incorporate myself into bodily form to voyage to the Dalet earth. Hey, revealed as Vav, the number 6, man, Zion, put to the weapon, slain, Chet, outside the fence. That's when Yeshua was crucified, but also to be entombed, because Chet is like this prison, this fence to be put into the fence. Tet, this big round stone that was rolled in front of him, and then the letter Yod means, this is my working hand, but as a suffix, Aleph means, which prefix is a prefix, Aleph means I am or I will, and then Yod is a suffix at the end of the word means this is mine. This is my doing, by my hand. So you look at the first 10 letters. In English, it would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then the letters I and J both came out of this Hebrew letter Yod. I and J used to be the same letter, and then about 500 years ago it became 2 letters when the 2 were spelled next to each other. But anyway, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J literally means, now in Hebrew the word spelled Bet, Gimel, Dalet, or B, C, D, means is bagad or bagged, which is baggy clothing, which is camouflage. So Aleph, I will, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, camouflage myself, incorporated Bet, coming down to Gimel, to the Dalet earth, revealed as Hey, Vav, the man who would be slain, Zion, and outside the fence, he was killed outside the walls of Jerusalem, and entombed, Chet, thrown into the tomb, the stone rolled in front of him, completely dead, and yet he said, Yod, by my hand I did this. Don't blame the Romans, don't blame the Jews. This was his design of his plan of what he was going to do. That's
from the beginning.
10 letters from the beginning. Now, the next letter, Kaf, literally means like, or as, or similar to, but it also means you. If it's at the end of the word, it means you. So he did all this for you. Kaf. But the Kaf and the Lamed also represent to teach and learn the Torah. There's a little bit more to that teaching, but briefly put. Teach and learn the Torah. So also, for him to come down and be put to death for us was so that we could enter the Chet, the fence, the kingdom of his own names as the identifying characteristics. So you can sit there and say this picture of the Mishkan with this big white fence with the four-colored embroidery basically represents Yud He Vav He, the four colors, blue, purple, red with white linen. It's a whole other teaching, but it basically speaks of Yud He Vav He, Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth. So the Mishkan, the big white linen fence with the blue, purple, red, white linen, gold threads, speaks of, this is his name, this is the kingdom of Yahweh. So Yeshua came, died, so that we could enter the kingdom. Once you come into the kingdom, just like this barbecue grate was the first thing inside the door, you have to teach and learn the Torah. Next thing, the laver, Mem Nun, has to do with, like Mem has to do with, like I said, it meant water, but it's also like a womb where you nurture or you're impregnated by the word that you were supposed to teach and learn, Kath and Lamed.
Makes total
In
sense.
which case you nurture it with a warm affection as a pregnant woman would, and then it will bring forth, Nun, bear the fruit of either the blessing or the curse, depending on how your attitude was while you were gestating or incubating or pregnant with his seed, which is his word. Then it will bring forth the blessing or the curse. And then you get the letter Samik. Well, it lines up with the Mishkan, with the menorah. Now, here's a picture of Yeshua saying, I'm the vine, you're the branches. So even though it's a prop, that which supports, it's also, you might say, like motoring, or this is what you do. Now, you go to Micah 6:8, and he says, He has shown you, O man, what is good, what is right, and what Elohim requires of you. Elohim is otherwise translated the word God, which is another part of the conversation we'll get to later.
Yep.
But in Hebrew, it's Elohim. It's aleph lamed. But anyway, the point is, He has shown you what is good and what He requires of you. These three things. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your Elohim.
That's right.
Now, these line up with the three letters, Samech, Ayin, Pei, which happens to line up in the Mishkan with the menorah, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense, which happens to line up with the three fall festivals of Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, which happens to be a day of trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the day of it's a week-long festival of Tabernacles. Now, the point of all that is to say, what does Samech Ayin Pei have to do with do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your Elohim? What does it mean to do justly? Hold yourself to the scrutiny of justice, of doing the right thing, of right ruling, of making the right decisions, and treating everybody fair and square. Yeshua said, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Any branch which does not bear fruit, my Father the husbandman will tear that branch off, break it off, throw it in the fire and burn it. Now, bearing fruit of righteousness and doing the right thing, he said in the Torah, he said, have truth and kindness around your neck. There's something about doing truth and kindness as a righteous servant, being responsible for what was entrusted to him, which is a picture of the Samech, which is a picture of being the branch of the menorah, Yeshua being the principal center, what's called the shemesh, or the servant candle, which lights all the other ones. All these pictures wrap up in there, which has to do with Yom Teruah, which has to do with the day that the festival that was commanded to us, which is the first day of the 7th month, basically around September, was to blow trumpets. We started this off by blowing these shofars. That was the commandment for that day. People say, oh, well, we can't keep the law. He never expected us to. The only commandment for that day, besides having a barbecue, was blow the shofars. Like, that's really hard. You don't have a shofar.
Well, it is for me, but I get somebody else to do it.
Go outside and beat the horn. There
you go.
It's the same thing.
There
Blow
you
the
go.
trumpet. Roll up a piece of paper.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the same thing. Just do what he said. Why? It's silly. Because he said so. There's something about it. The point is, hold yourself to the scrutiny of doing righteousness and justice. Then the ayin. Now, the ayin has to do with looking out. Look out for your neighbor, and remember this. It has to do with the eye in the sky, the great judge. Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, has to do with the covering day of judgment. It lines up with the 5th day, this particular letter, where fish were put in the sea and birds in the air. Picture heaven and hell. Picture the scales of judgment. And picture this. He says, what you have done will be measured back to you. With the measure that you have determined to use with others will be measured to you. Every time you make a decision of judgment, a decision of how to treat one another with what you think is, this is fair, this is right, or I'm just going to do it. you are putting into your scales on Judgment Day, and I'm not talking about the ultimate Judgment Day only, but even as the course of life goes through, you are putting the weight and the measure in your scales to be determined to you what's going to go around. What goes around comes around. That's what this day says. As you sow, you will reap. And furthermore, Yeshua says in the Beatitudes that lines up with this very position is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Now look at this a little closer. If you want to get mercy some days, I don't need no mercy. You say, wait a minute, there's a day coming when you might accidentally do something, bump over a guy's mailbox or some infraction, where all of a sudden somebody has every right to come down on you and say, please have mercy on me. Well, maybe you don't deserve mercy.
Because you didn't give it.
Mercy is not deserved. Mercy is a benevolent act of kindness that you've been graced or given. And Yahweh says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. There's this concept of pay it forward. Now, what this means is, if you give others who blow it, who have infracted real right ruling or right justice, if somebody else, your neighbor, somebody else that you don't even know, has done something against you, for you to have mercy upon them and forgive them and be gracious unto them, actually sets you up to receive mercy later when you need it, because you've pre-qualified yourself by the way you have treated one another. And so this picture of the ayin, the eyeball, Yahweh says more than once, he said, he is not mocked. A man's way will be returned to his own head. So the benefit of then the next letter, pay, his words, as he says, you may not ayin, understand, see the way all this works, but I'm pay, the mouth, telling you the way it works, so that you can, samik, do the right thing. So that ayin, your recompense, your reciprocal event that comes to you in your life, both in this life and in the world to come, is that your way will be returned on your own head, measure for measure, mercy for mercy, judgment for judgment. And if you are heavy-handed with your neighbor, he will be heavy-handed with you, because it's not him doing it to you, it's you doing it to yourself.
A couple of things to add to that. And let me say this, that the reason that the one and only reason that I'm ever merciful is, guess what? Because he was to me. A lot of mercy. You understand what I'm saying? So that, and he said what? A servant's not greater than his master. We should, strive to want to be like him, talking about Yeshua. And another thing, I brought this up the other day to my wife. We homeschool our kids. Everybody knows it. Even the devil knows it. I won't get into that one. But Wendy was sort of, I thought, was being a little bit harsh on Emily the other day, and, and I was thinking to myself, let's show a little mercy here, baby, because didn't he show mercy to you? And the thought occurred to me, so I said it, and he's exactly right. Just like didn't Shaul Paul say to tell the Galatians what? He's not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, he shall reap. So if you reap mercy, then one day when you need it, it's going to be there because he has seen. That's right. Absolutely. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so what I'm telling you, this is what the letters of this alphabet mean. So if you take those as a package, you have aleph through yod, the first 10 letters, basically saying this is what he's going to do for us so that we can enter his kingdom. Then he says, as soon as you enter his kingdom, teach and learn the Torah. That's Kaf and Lamed.
Okay.
And then Mem Nun, with the regard that you have harbored and nurtured with a warm affection, his words, it will either bring forth the blessing or the curse.
Right.
Which gives you, as it were, the stuff of your life for you to deal with as you now have to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with him. Doing justly, which is, hold yourself to the standard of doing the best right thing as a faithful servant. Love mercy with the measure you use will be measured to you, and whatever goes around is going to come around. You better bear that in mind as you're trying to do justly. Walk humbly with your Elohim. The word humbly there, it basically means unproud, with a not a haughty, arrogant. It's a downcast sort of head, which is to say, whatever you say. Whatever you say. Yahweh, whatever you say. Now, the next letter is a Zadi, which actually is a picture of a sprout or a fish hook. But actually, it's also a picture of the resurrection. It's also a picture of, in the Ark of the Covenant was Aaron's rod. Now, there's a story in the Old Testament about Moses. Moshe was basically appointing Aaron, Aharon, as his brother, as the high priest. And these other guys say, hey, wait a minute, this is nepotism. You're just picking your brother. Get out of the way. There's other of us that have a right to this position. And Moses says, come on, you guys, give me a break. The Almighty himself is the one that determined this. They say, shut up, Moses, you're just full of yourself. And he says, tell you what, have the prince, I think Yahweh told Moshe this, he says, have each one of the leaders of the tribes bring their walking stick, their staff, their tribal scepter, and place it here.